Good afternoon, everyone, and morning to those guys in Perth. Thank you for joining us today. On behalf of Premier1 Lithium, I'd like to welcome you to this investor webinar. Today's session is in listen mode only. If you'd like to ask a question, please type it into the chat box and we'll address it during the Q&A at the end of the session. Presenting today will be PLC's Managing Director, Jason Froud. Jason will provide an update on the company's strategy and exploration programs across their gold, copper and lithium portfolio in WA. Before we move to Q&A, I'll now hand over to Jason to run through the presentation.
Okay, thanks very much, Simon. Pleasure to be here and look forward to giving an update. We'll try and keep it at a fairly high level today without too much technical detail. I'll talk about what's in the exploration pipeline and why we see a lot of potential in the portfolio that we have. The full version of this presentation is on the website and the ASX platform, but today there'll be a couple of slides removed just to keep things flowing along. A disclaimer here, look, I encourage you to have a look at this either on the website or the ASX announcement. So I guess just to start off, our focus at the moment is very much on gold exploration. In my view now is very much the time to find gold and to sell gold. And what we're doing about this is we're targeting, greenstone belts in Western Australia that have been very much underexplored. We're about to kick off gold exploration at Mount Kersey very soon, and I think this is an excellent target. And we'll also commence resource growth drilling at Wadgingarra. Regional exploration at Abbotts North is ongoing, and we're going through a process of heritage clearance at the moment so we can get on the ground there and do some drilling. In saying this, we also have good exposure to copper at Yalgoo. The Golden Grove mine is hosted in the same greenstone belt to the south, but for us, the copper is, I guess, optionality going forward, and it's very much at an earlier stage of exploration. Lithium sits in the back pocket as also as an option, for any future market recovery there. So if we have a look at the map here, and the two main projects, so number one, we'll see Yalgoo, and that sits across the main Mount Magnet Geraldton Road. It's only a 5-hour drive north of Perth. Importantly here, you'll see Deflector, which is about 60 kilometres to the south. We've got a sealed road that goes, directly to the front door from us to the Deflector mine. Warriedar, or Golden Range project that's just been transacted, and Golden Grove are also immediately to the south. A key point here as well is the Kirkalocka Mill, which is on the Great Northern Highway. They'll be looking to restart in 2026, and we'll actively be looking for feed. If we move up to the Abbotts project, Abbotts North, so this is just north of Meekatharra. We're 30 kilometres north of the Bluebird Mill and just to the north of New Murchison's recent discovery of the Crown Prince deposit, which is now the Crown Prince mine. So the main points here for Yalgoo, earlier this year we completed a 3,000 metre RC drilling program, and this gave us the confidence to go forward and estimate the maiden mineral resource. The resource there is modest in size at the moment, but the grade is very, very good. And for me, I think this is just the start here. It's shallow, it's not tested at depth, and it hasn't been tested along strike either. Sorry, I haven't moved forward the slide there, have I? So at Yalgoo, we've got over 260 square kilometres of tenure. It's all in greenstone, and we've really only just scratched the surface here in terms of exploration. Our focus so far has been on the Wadgingarra area, which is right at the northern end. This sits just off the Murchison Shear, and this Murchison Shear continues to the south for over 25 kilometres on our tenure. So the Murchison Shear here, this is renamed as the Wadgingarra Shear as it moves to the south. It's the same structure, but this is the main structure that goes through Golden Range and hosts the deposits there. Also continues to the north up to what is now Ramelius Resources Yalgoo project. As we move to the south, the project goes under shallow cover. Lots of prospectivity there. We see very similar structures to what's hosting the mineralisation at Golden Range, but we'll need to fly some geophysics there to the south and then do regional air core drilling through that area. If we move into specifically at Wadgingarra, where we did the recent RC drilling program, you'll see on the map we've got Ramelius to the north. It still says Spartan there. That's my fault. We'll need to update that to Ramelius now that transaction is completed. So within this area is pretty much where we estimated our maiden mineral resource of 150,000 tonnes at 2.7 grams per tonne. So as I said, the size is modest, but the grade is very, very good. The resource has been largely constrained by the depth of drilling, but in my opinion, there's excellent potential for growth here. The resource that we reported was also within a pit optimisation, and the optimization parameters for that pit shell were quite conservative as well. So very confident that we've got excellent potential to grow the resource there. If we look at some of the detail here, you'll see a hole there which was hole 1 that we drilled. We hit 3 meters at 31 grams per tonne. The most important point to note here is that this is the southernmost hole that's been drilled on that structure that hosts the crescent mineralisation. So this is a subsidiary structure that comes off the Murchison Shear. So to the south of that hole of 3 meters at 30 grams has never been tested. There's no drilling along that structure at all. So this area, which is pretty much almost the limit of the map that's on screen at the moment, this is the area where we're in discussions with MMS at the moment. So MMS are a full service mining contractor. So within this area, we're looking at MMS funding all of the development, and then moving to a profit share, post-production. So this is a work in progress at the moment, but really, we're quite close to being able to come to an agreement with MMS here. So MMS, they like that area. They plan to come in and drill, do the resource definition and the resource growth. And as I said, I'm confident there's a lot more to find here. So MMS also bring a lot of skills to the table beyond exploration, and they'll be looking to bring this area into production as quickly as possible. As we touched on earlier, there's also a number of processing options in this area, so either Kirkalocka or other mills that are very much within a trucking distance of this project area. And so that will allow the capex to stay down and allow smaller deposits to be brought into line. Right. If we now have a look at Mount Kersey, and so this is my immediate focus here. This is immediately to the east of that Wadgingarra area. And from a technical point of view, this project ticks all the boxes for me. There's a substantial geochem anomaly in there, in particular tellurium and bismuth, which are key pathfinders. It's extending over a couple of kilometres of strike length here, in particular with the tellurium and bismuth. So there's good potential for scale. We've gone in, we've taken some preliminary rock chips. We get double-digit grams per tonne in the rock chips, and it's hosted within a very interesting structure. And most importantly, this anomaly has never been drilled. So we're looking to get into Mount Kersey and start drilling there very, very soon. So at this stage, we're looking to get clearance, get drill pads cleared in there from mid-November, and then drilling very, very soon thereafter. If you look at the mag image on the left-hand side there, you can sort of see the extent of the Maloo shear that continues through all of that tenure. And so, as I said, that's under shallow cover there to the south, but a huge amount of potential that needs to be explored. So that'll be flying some high resolution mag over that area, and then following up with sort of regional air core drilling. Moving now to Abbotts North, which is just north of Meekatharra. As I said, so the town of Meekatharra is just to the south, and Westgold's Bluebird Mill is just a little bit further out of town to the south. The Mount Clare Road goes, through the licence here, so access to Abbotts North is excellent. And New Murchison's Crown Prince mine is just to the south, and this is it's a cracking new deposit that they've actually just started mining. For this area where it is, there's been very, very limited exploration. It was widely spaced and shallow RAB drilled by Getty Oil in the early 1980s, and then other than a few sporadic holes looking for copper, this is about the limit of exploration across that northern Abbotts belt. As a company, we've only spent a fairly limited amount of our time looking at Abbotts North. A lot of our focus has been so far at Yalgoo. But the more time we spend looking at Abbotts, the more we dig into it, the more exciting it gets. And so, we're very keen to get up here and really get stuck into it. So there's plenty of work to be done, and I think there's a lot of potential for Crown Prince style deposits, or more Crown Prince style deposits, just waiting to be discovered across the whole belt there. And a lot of this area also is under shallow cover, and I think that is certainly limited exploration success in the 80s, and a lot of the soil geochem has not been particularly effective because of that shallow cover. We've completed, reconnaissance work across the area. We've taken rock chips where there's outcrop to be seen, but somewhat the effectiveness of this is quite limited because of that cover. So the next steps across Abbotts North here is high resolution geophysics, and then regional air core drilling across the area. And we're working through the heritage requirements at the moment to get this air core drilling in progress. But from the recon work that we have done so far, we've identified a number of very good targets. So Sprig Bore in the centre of the project area is structurally very, very interesting. Again, it's mostly undercover, so we need to fly the airborne through there and get the regional fly the airborne and get regional air core through there, so we can have a good look at the rocks that we're dealing with. What's really been quite exciting for us is from that reconnaissance program, discovering or finding the Rochefort project. So this is an area that's never been looked at, and was purely the result of early stage reconnaissance. So lots of work to be done, lots of potential there. If we zoom into that Rochefort project here, we will get a little bit more technical, but this was an area of interest, I guess, just from walking that ground, where we've seen extensive quartz veining at surface, and then we followed that up with an orientation geochemical sampling program. So we had double digit rock chip samples through there, 11, 14 grams per tonne. And then the soil geochem highlighted, a 500 by 300 metre soil anomaly in the gold, which is quite significant. Across the area, the background soils are highly depleted, normally at sort of detection limit, so largely less than 0.5 parts per billion. And we've delineated quite a substantial plus 10 ppb anomaly, plus bismuth and, coincident bismuth and tungsten anomalism within a highly fractionated quartz dolerite. So from a technical point of view, this presents a very, very strong anomaly. What we also see to the south is, as we move into the transported cover, the soil geochem hasn't really seen through the cover here. So the next steps here is we'll run some ultrafines as an orientation survey to see if we can see through this cover, and then be able to use that, across broader areas within the project area. So for me, I think this project has lots of potential. And I think as we move forward, we'll see a lot more areas like Rochefort present themselves at Abbotts North. So we're working through the heritage process at Abbotts North at the moment, and we'll be looking to complete, regional air core drilling and testing of Rochefort in early 2026. So I guess just to wrap that up in summary now, as I said, the immediate focus for us, given where the market is at the moment, is gold with copper optionality. The near-term catalysts for us will be the drilling at Mount Kersey, which I'm really excited about. As I said, this one ticks all the boxes for me. From there, we'll be looking at resource definition and growth at Wadgingarra, and sort of ongoing joint venture discussions with MMS, which I think we can wrap up fairly quickly. Next year, I guess the blue sky there is that we'll be pushing Abbotts North with regional air core and sort of an ongoing sampling there. So, Simon, I think that that pretty much wraps it up from my side.
All right, beautiful.
Quite a quick overview there, but
that's good, Jason. We'll now open up to questions. So please submit them through the chat box, and we'll work through as many as we can in the time available. And I did have a few, Jason, that came through via email beforehand, and some of them are quite long, so I'll probably just try to cut them back a little bit. But the first one, it's actually come up on the Q&A as well. It was around the placement and what sort of the reasoning why it was done at almost a 50% discount.
Yeah, sure. And look, it's not, certainly from my perspective, that pricing, is certainly at the lower end of expectations. There is quite a long story behind that, which I can't really go into. But it is a rights issue, so all shareholders have the potential, and I encourage them to participate. I think there's exceptional value to be had there with the rights issue, and a lot of triggers there for us to be able to do much better than what that placement price is. There was a lot going on in the background. We are looking to largely recapitalise the company from where we were. So it's quite a large raising considering our market cap. So that did put some pressure on the pricing of that. But look, as I said, it's a rights issue. So all shareholders have the ability to participate and come in at what is, I think, some very sharp pricing.
All right, thank you. Another question that came through: any reason you haven't made any new acquisitions?
Okay, we've certainly looked at a large number of acquisitions, and we've got very, very close on a couple that have fallen over at the 11th hour, which was quite disappointing considering the amount of work that we had put into them. I think given where the market is at the moment, the vast majority of the acquisitions we've looked at, and considering our market cap at the moment, have been either not great projects, or the price expectation was quite high, or a bit from column A and a bit from column B. So we've certainly looked at a huge number. Where we are in the price environment at the moment, I think there's excellent potential for gold at both Abbotts and Yalgoo. So that doesn't rule out any future acquisitions. We're still very actively looking, but we need to be very, very careful with how we do these acquisitions.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. Are there any opportunities to partner or JV with larger players in the district?
Yeah, so certainly. So, we're still negotiating, but we're very close with MMS. And I think that will bring a lot of technical experience into developing that Wadgingarra area. Immediately north of us at Yalgoo is Ramelius. So I think there's certainly some opportunities to be explored there. And I guess at Yalgoo, Westgold have shown that they're very happy to toll mill. Look, I think both Westgold and New Murchison will do very well out of that arrangement. So, given exploration success at Abbotts North, I think there's excellent opportunities for joint venturing in on that Abbotts ground as well.
All right. Thanks. I'm just going to roll in a couple sort of as one. There's sort of a question on the company headcount, and I suppose that goes to what does a cash runway look like, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. So at the moment, the company and the way the company is structured is that we have a team in place to do the exploration, so that we're not focused on using consultant geologists, bringing people in to sit on drill rigs. So we maintain that IP within the company. That does mean that we do have a fixed costs for staff in place, but we are actively exploring. We'll be back on the ground exploring within a month, but we maintain that skill set in-house. If we go out and we employ contractors to go and drill, you end up paying higher daily rates. You get lower quality work typically, because you don't have that level of continuity. So it's been very much a conscious decision here to keep this in-house and to maintain that skill set.
All right, excellent. How do you see investor appetite for gold, copper explorers evolving into 2026, and where does PLC fit in that picture?
Yeah, well, so I think that's absolutely it. On gold, it's where the market is at the moment. Gold has come off slightly in the last few days, but the price is still very, very strong. And I don't see that changing, with the geopolitical atmosphere in the short term at all. So the gold miners are making substantial profits at the moment, and from what I am seeing, that is slowly filtering down into the junior space. I think with the risk adverse or the risk off flows now and into 2026, this is pushing more and more investor interest back into gold equities. And a lot of the gold producers as well will be looking to replace ounces, and so they'll be more than prepared to participate or to pay for quality projects there. On the copper side, the copper market in Australia is obviously very much smaller, but also a huge amount of interest there with, I guess, structural supply concerns, and any exploration success here on copper, will generate substantial interest. Our immediate focus at the moment, though, is definitely on the gold story.
Yep. No, that makes sense as well. I think we'll wrap it up with one last question here. I guess for those investors out there watching the story, what sort of milestones can we expect to see over the next 3, 6, 12 months?
Okay, so immediate is Mount Kersey. So we'll have guys on site, so probably week after next. So putting in the drill pads and access for the drill rig to get in, and then straight in, drilling, a circa 3,000 meter program at Mount Kersey, which I'm very excited about drilling that project. Beyond that, sort of over the shorter term, is the resource growth potential at Wadgingarra, along with the execution of a joint venture there. So it'll probably take a little bit longer there, but I'm also confident that we can grow that resource base there at Wadgingarra. The blue sky over that more sort of medium to longer term 12-month horizon will be Abbotts North. I think there's a huge amount of potential here. We just need to go in and do the work on the ground. And I'm confident we will find more prospect areas like Rochefort, along with progressing that Rochefort prospect as well.
All right. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for everyone who joined us today for the presentation. We appreciate your continued interest in Premier1 Lithium and look forward to watching Jason as Premier1 advances over the next 12 months or so. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you, Simon.